Nothing means anything until it means something. I realized that pro wrestling was, kind of my one true passion and something that I could pursue as like a dream. New England Pro Wrestling Academy is attached with Chaotic Wrestling, and Chaotic was one of the first independent wrestling shows that I went to. Anthony Green said, "Hey, you should become a pro wrestler." Respect is a big thing that I've learned from all of them. I had a really good match with Matt Vandagriff. It was a strong survivor match. You could clearly tell that we both have gotten better. That match meant the world to me. I think that was probably the match that kind of put me on the map. It was entirely my idea. It felt like a payoff to me and Sean and, all the hard work that we've put in. Yeah. Anytime he gave me a shot, I for sure felt it.
Ladies and gentlemen, hosted by Coach C, Chris Sanders, this is Best for Business.
All right, everybody, welcome back to the channel. Another episode of Best for Business. I'm so pumped for this one. Seabass Finn, man, thank you so much for joining me for this one.
Thank you for having me, Chris. Super happy to be here.
One of my favorite people in pro wrestling. Now, you have a background prior to pro wrestling with the amateur, so I'm curious for you making that jump. How hard was it to make the transition from amateur to pro wrestling for you?
I'd say it was a little difficult at times. I found myself almost like crouched in a stance early in the early days of my training. And professional wrestling, they want you to be tall, they want you to be as big as you can. So that was definitely a bit of a struggle, as well as being tense all the time,
Yeah.
and trying to move guys around, and it takes two, to have a wrestling match. So to be a little bit more loose and loosen up a little bit in the sense of just my body being tense all the time. That was a little bit of a struggle, but some of the other pieces, simple things like forward rolls, just having that athletic background, I was able to kind of, progress pretty quick in my training. I think in my first class match, maybe only a couple months in, and then, um, first match on a show was roughly about 6 months into 6 months into my training.
What was it about the New England Pro Wrestling Academy that made you pick there?
So I'd actually did a like a project at the end of like my time in high school, kind of like a passion project, and that's where I kind of realized that pro wrestling was kind of my one true passion and something that I could pursue as like a dream. And I looked at a few, or I tried to research a few schools that were relatively in my area. At the time, there was like the Ring of Honor dojo in Philly, which, a bit of a hike. So
Yeah.
I discovered the New England Pro Wrestling Academy just from doing research and seeing what was in my area. Um, and uh, New England Pro Wrestling Academy is attached with Chaotic Wrestling, and Chaotic was one of the first independent wrestling shows that I went to.
Nice.
The first independent wrestling show that I went to. I went to a couple in 2018, 2017, maybe even 2019. And that was where I met Anthony Green. And I was one of those annoying fans, I'll admit it, who would just kind of go up to the merch table and not buy anything and talk your ear off. And Anthony Green said, "Hey, you should become a pro wrestler and go to the Pro Wrestling Academy." So
Wow.
that's what I did.
So when you talk about Anthony Green or Chase Del Monte or Smash Master Scotty, Dijak, what do you feel like are the biggest lessons you learned from the coaches there at NEPWA?
I think respect is a big thing that I've learned
Nice.
from all of them, across many different aspects of pro wrestling, whether it's just something as simple as introducing yourself and shaking hands, or respecting your opponent in the ring, backstage, after the match as well. Just kind of the way to go about things and everything. Um, and also really just making the most of everything that you do in this business,
Yeah.
whether it's working hard behind the scenes, doing extras, and anything extra that you can bring to the table, and then even the time that we do get in the ring, um, getting the most out of it and putting your best foot forward and giving 100% effort into every minute, every second that you have in the ring.
Yeah, so one thing that stands out about you is your creativity. But before Seabass Finn, I forgot which one came first, but what was it, Jac St. Bernard you start off as?
Yes, that was my first like three official matches with Chaotic. It was during the Reloaded tapings. I wrestled as Jac St. That was not a name that I chose. It was a name that
Okay.
was given to me. Um, and there have been a few instances where I've wrestled as Jac St. Jean or Jacques Saint Jean, um, which is pretty much just me.
Okay. Yeah.
Um, uh, and that was a little difficult because at the time I was kind of at the same time as I was wrestling as myself, I was also wrestling as Seabass Finn. So I kind of had these two sort of avenues that I was going down, where one was silly fun, fisherman gimmick, and then the
Yeah.
other was an amateur wrestler, very very cut and dry. And now I've kind of blended the two and I'm still Seabass Finn, but I've really started to get more comfortable incorporating that amateur background into my wrestling.
How hard was it for you to come up with Seabass Finn? Because when we talk about creativity and chaotic wrestling, there's a lot of personalities, but in pro wrestling, there's not many fishermen out there.
No, I can't really think of anyone. The closest I could really think of is maybe Skinner from
Okay.
WWF.
Yeah.
He was kind of like an alligator hunter
Yeah.
sort of deal. Um, so early in my training, I was doing a drill at NEPWA, and at the time, a guy named Tyler Cintron was still around in the Massachusetts area, and he just decided to, say like an old quote from Dumb and Dumber, "Kick his ass, Seabass." And I wasn't even referring to myself as Seabass, so he just said that, and it stuck in my brain. I
Wow.
was like, oh, I could, kind of, roll with this a little bit. So
Yeah.
I was considering using the name Finn, and I thought that Seabass and Finn is kind of a funny little pun. Um, so I kept them both. And I also came to the conclusion, one, there's not any fishermen in wrestling really.
Yeah.
And fishing was something that's kind of a little sentimental to me. I don't do it as much as people think.
Yeah.
But in high school, I have very fond memories of going up to northern New Hampshire with my dad and my grandfather, who I refer to a lot as the Bass Man. My dad refers to him as that as well. He is a very avid bass fisherman.
Hmm.
So it's a very sentimental character
Nice.
that I've kind of developed. And fishing, I think, is something that everyone can kind of relate to, especially in a place like New England, where
Yeah.
it's very common.
So I'm curious for Seabass Finn. What is the inspiration for the gear? Obviously, what a fisherman wrestles in or would be in, but I'm curious for you. How is it wrestling in like jean shorts and things like that?
I don't bust out the shorts too often
Yeah.
anymore. Once in a while, if I'm feeling it, I will.
Okay.
Um, the gear was just kind of just like a funny thing. I mean, I can only think of maybe one or two people who really would wear jorts regularly when they wrestle, like a Balls Mahoney, maybe, with
Yeah.
the kind of the cut off on the side as well. Most people kind of wear them for other fun shows or maybe for uh, extreme rules matches, gimmick
Mhm.
matches. But I literally just cut those jeans off myself and got someone to slap a bobber into fish on it.
Nice.
And then I found a fly fishing vest from Bass Pro, of course, to add to boot. But the singlet's a lot more comfortable. It's
Yeah.
what I'm a little more used to. It's a little bit more me, and it
Hmm.
looks a little bit more presentable than maybe jorts and a crop top fishing vest.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, the gear design for the singlet at least is kind of a little bit of a nod to the singlet that I wore in college. I went to Springfield College,
Nice.
and they kind of modeled theirs after the Penn State the Nittany Lions singlet with kind
Yeah.
of like that band that goes around the abdomen. Um, a lot of singlets in like amateur wrestling will kind of copy that design. So I figured it was a little familiar and kind of easy to distinguish myself amongst all the other people who wear singlets, just to kind of have
Yeah.
that band around.
I'm curious for you, what was it like wrestling during the pandemic? Because you're just starting in pro wrestling, but at the time, chaotic wrestling, they were doing certain restrictions. I remember some of the wrestlers in the crowd, but for you, what was it like? Obviously, you had somewhat of a crowd, but that's not what obviously you were used to and hoping for at the time.
Yeah, I say this to a lot of people that my experience in my first couple of years of pro wrestling training and working on shows is very different
Hmm.
than anybody else's. Even when I started training, it was very, very small classes. I had done like 3 fantasy camps before the pandemic. Um, and then, during the pandemic, it was very small classes, sometimes maybe just, 2 or 3 people training, and then, Chase coaching. So, I was able to kind of get a lot more reps and progress a lot more quickly. And then, um, the matches in the were right in the school, so it's not
Yeah.
like I was being thrown into the fire in front of a live crowd. Was a little more comfortable. And I think my first match in front of like a live crowd was the first chaotic countdown that I was in. I think in
Nice.
maybe 2022 or 2021. It might have been, yeah,
Yeah.
potentially 2021, um, in Lowell. Um, so, that was kind of like a very eye-opening experience after having maybe 3, 4 matches, just kind of in this enclosed
Hmm.
environment, with a kind of like a not piped in crowd, but a gimmick crowd that, would kind of hear and follow along, to now, you know, year 2 or 3 now I'm, yeah, in a wrestling in front of a crowd that's live and,
Yeah.
has real fans.
What was your first match during the pandemic?
My first match during the pandemic was Jac St. Bernard versus a guy named Billy Wanker,
Okay.
who now wrestles as Sigma.
Okay. Nice.
Um, yes, that was my first official match. It went about a minute and a half, and then
Okay.
Max Matchmaster came in, uh, power bombed me. I definitely hit my head really hard on that,
Yeah.
and then proceeded to power bomb me on the outside, onto into Billy Wanker. Yeah, that was a fun first match.
And then didn't during Reloaded, I was watching, I want to say it was you. Didn't you wrestle Trip once?
Yes, so
Right.
I wrestled Billy Wanker, then I wrestled Davian,
Oh, nice.
then I wrestled Trigger the OG. And that was kind of like a little bit of my first kind of like, not long form, but my first real standard match.
Nice.
Um, yeah, yeah, that was my, like, I'd say more first official, but first one goes to Billy Wanker.
When you talk about your career, I'm curious, do you remember that first interaction you had with Sean Keegan?
First interaction I had with Sean Keegan. Where would that have been?
That would have been a NEPWA, but I'm curious. I was going to talk about the friendship obviously you had with them, but prior to
Oh,
this actually. But
yeah.
I'm curious,
Okay.
do you
Yeah,
remember
yeah.
something that stands out or anything about him early on?
Not super entirely.
Hmm.
I don't think we really got super close until, we eventually
Yeah.
left to train with New Japan in
Yeah.
LA. Um, but I knew that Sean had been a guy who had been around. I vaguely remember him from some fantasy camps that I'd
Nice.
been at. He was there as well as just a student representing the school. Um, and then I think, shortly after, we started maybe traveling to a few shows together, every now and then. Um, Maybe like a year, like 6 months before we left for that trip, we had a match at Fight Life. And I remember we kind of, hit it off, and we, had some pretty creative stuff in that match. Um, that might have been our first time
Nice.
wrestling each other. Maybe we'd done some class matches before, or maybe some tags here and there, against each other. But the singles match at Fight Life was probably like my first, longer term,
Yeah.
interaction with him. Um, but yeah, I love Sean. He's one of my best friends in wrestling today.
Yeah. I'm curious. What was the process for you to finally take the initiative? Was that your call for the New Japan Dojo Academy? And at the same time, when you got accepted or however that worked, did you know Sean was going also?
Yeah, so I applied maybe in May, I want to say.
Okay.
And they got back to me pretty quickly. That was only their second time running classes like
Mhm.
this. So I applied, and I remember telling Sean about it sometime after class. And he was like, "Oh, that's really cool. I think, like, can you send me the link? I think I might apply as well." So I sent it over to him. And I'd already talked to, some of my trainers saying, "Hey, I think I'm gonna go do this." Because they got back to me, like, within the next day, saying, "Hey, please, come out, whatever."
Nice.
Um, and then shortly after, Sean, also heard back from them and made the decision to go. So from there on, we kind of started planning it out and saying, "All right, well, we should probably, stick together out there,
Yeah.
find a place to stay, and figure everything out."
What was a day in the life down there for you?
Well, for me, I was pretty much focusing the majority of my time on wrestling.
Hmm.
We were training about twice a week,
Okay.
and then when we could, we were either traveling to shows or wrestling on shows that we could potentially get on. Um, I wasn't able to kind of transfer jobs or anything, so I was just kind of door dashing, putting around, trying to make money,
Yeah.
make ends meet. And Sean was able, at the time, he was working at a vitamin shop, so he was able to actually transfer stores from Hooksett to two locations in California. So he was kind of the breadwinner of the couple,
Yeah.
going out and
Yeah.
making money. I was the stay-at-home wife, I guess.
Yeah. I'm curious, does anything stand out that first student showcase match against Bateman?
Yeah. Anytime he gave me a shot, I for sure felt it.
Yeah.
Um, he's definitely brings a hard-hitting style to the table. Um, I'd like to get that rep back again
Hmm.
with Bateman because like sometimes the things you learn or the things that you think that you improve on like don't really set in until like sometime after.
Yeah.
So like looking back to 2023 to now, thinking about how much I've progressed and how much better I've gotten,
Yeah.
I would love to replay that match again and see, what could go differently or how much better it could be. And not that the match was bad. I thought the match was awesome. And,
Yeah.
that's what everybody was telling me. And another big thing too was just how kind Bateman was.
Nice.
He checked in with me after the match to make sure I was okay. And then like a day or two later, messaged me and said, "Hey, just want to make sure everything's okay for the match." He's a super, super kind man.
Yeah. So there's been moments in my career, my life so far that I've marked out for Seabass Finn. And one of them, obviously, last year, you get to wrestle Matt Vandagriff for Fighting Spirit Unleashed, I think it was called. But for you, how did the opportunity come to be? And what does that match mean to you?
Yeah, so it wasn't really just the fact that I was, like a local guy and they were
Yeah.
coming and, wanted to bring me in because I was a graduate of the New Japan Academy. Obviously that's a part of it, but I kind of just kept popping my head back out there,
Nice.
and seeing friends and training. And I think that kind of, you know, when I came back from California, I wasn't just kind of sitting on my butt and waiting for the stuff to come to me. I went out and tried to continue to work hard and pursue opportunities. Um, and when one of the guys who kind of does all the coordinating with New Japan Academy, he actually reached out to me and said, "Hey, we're thinking about running a show in the Boston area. Do you have any leads on a ring rental?" And I was like, "Oh, well, I
Yeah.
train at this school, and maybe you could talk to some of my trainers and see if we could rent the ring." At the time, we were actually buying a brand new ring for the
Yeah.
school, so the first show that we used that ring for was for the New Japan Strong Show, Fighting Spirit Unleashed in Lowell, and I
Yeah.
was the first match in that ring,
That's awesome.
and that's the ring that we use now for all of our chaotic shows. So that's pretty cool that I kind of got to break in the new ring. And to have the match with Matt Vandagriff, it was a strong survivor match. He and a few others actually like considered that to be one of the best strong survivor matches like
Nice.
up to that point.
Yeah.
There's definitely been some more that have. There was one just recently with CJ Tino and Alan Breeze that was very
Yeah.
very good in California. Um, but I had despite the time that we were given, I had a really, really good match with Matt Vandagriff. And I can't say enough good things about him. I think he's a tremendous talent and a really, really hard worker.
Yeah. I'm curious from your perspective. Obviously, I saw it from being there, but for you personally, we talk about the New England Pro Wrestling Academy. When you came out, majority of the school is there cheering your name. For you, what is it like to have that support system for those guys that you train with? You bust your ass numerous times a week. So for you, what does that mean for you?
It meant the world.
Yeah.
Some of my family was there too, but to
Right.
have the majority of the people there, even having I think Mortar and Ricky Smokes and Brad Cashew were
Yeah.
kind of the corner men for that event. So to kind
Yeah.
of have them ringside seeing that match and to have my Chase, my trainer there, it meant the world.
Nice.
And I think it kind of showed that even someone like me coming from the New England Pro Wrestling Academy,
Mhm.
can make it to a level like that.
Yeah.
Even though it might have been a pre-show match, 5 minutes, like it's still um, something to, pat yourself on the back for,
Yeah.
and tell people, hey, like you can, really make something of this if you, try and put in, a bunch of effort.
Yeah. How is this most recent All-Star Showcase for you?
That was awesome.
Nice.
I said to myself, that week, I was staying with my good friend Jordan
I
Castle,
love him.
who
Yeah.
and he was planning on going to the beach for the 4th of July. And I said, Jordan, I'll be happy to go to the beach as long as I don't get sunburnt.
Hmm.
Called that the commentator's curse because I got severely sunburnt,
Yeah.
really, really bad, and then had to wrestle the next day. So I was pretty sore all around. But the match itself was amazing.
Yeah.
Just to be in there for a few moments with CJ Tino, who's now the current New Japan Strong Survivor, and a former New England Pro Wrestling Academy
Yeah.
trainee. That was really, really cool. And then to share the ring with other graduates of the New Japan Academy, like Lucas Riley, Dom Kubrick of the Krusty Crew, 5-star Raymond Bright, who's another guy who picked up his stuff from New York and relocated to LA. He's a tremendous talent, a super hard worker. And then another guy from, I believe, the Pacific Northwest, like Vancouver, British Columbia, Casey Ferreira. Um, he was awesome.
Yeah.
He was one of my tag partners along with 5-star. Um, and the showcase overall was great. It was really cool to be, heading out there for a main event, 6-man tag, which I did not expect
Yeah.
to be put into that place. But like I was put there because I knew, the people in charge knew that I could be a part of a good match, and
Nice.
I definitely played that role.
So I'm curious. I remember when you and Sean went and announced that you were going to the New Japan Dojo Academy. When you came back, did the idea of catch and release happen? I don't remember if it was a tag match you had at that show where you announced it. But when did catch and release come for the idea?
Yeah, so we did have a match right before we left against the GGC at the time,
Okay.
Milo Mira and Armani Chaos. Um, and then when we came back, it was kind of just we could use some more guys in our tag division. Um, let's keep you guys together. We definitely got a lot closer living together for 3 months
Yeah.
in an Airbnb that was probably as big as the ring that we trained in.
Wow.
Um, so we got real close, and made so many memories out there, that it just kind of made sense to put us together. I enjoy being a smaller man in a odd couple tag team, big man,
Yeah.
little man sort of deal. Um, and I think I remember our first match back was at an Owlmania show in Everett, and we wrestled the GGC again. Um, and you could clearly tell that we both had gotten better. But what sticks with me is the minute I tagged Sean in for that hot tag, and the place just erupted.
Nice.
Um, and so like from there, it was like, all right, like we're you know doing things right, like we're a good tag team.
Yeah.
And we should kind of keep this rolling for some time.
Yeah, when we talk Seabass Finn, I'm curious for you matches. Wrestling Dijak, first at Wrestling Open, the opportunity comes to be. So I'm curious for you. Obviously, at the time, he was brand new to the New England Pro Wrestling Academy as a trainer, but to wrestle somebody like Dijak, obviously a trainer helping you. What did that match mean for you?
That match meant the world to me.
Yeah,
I think that was probably the match that kind of put me on the map.
nice.
It kind of started a bit of a snowball effect where I had that match, then I had my Limitless Wrestling singles debut, then I had the Fighting Spirit Unleashed Strong Survivor match with Vandagriff. Um, and so it just kind of started this really big snowball effect where I was just, starting to pop up
Yeah,
in, some new places and having really good matches. Um, when Dijak came to the a school in June of last year, um, I made it a point to show up to every single one of his classes and take what I can.
yeah,
And he even told me this after. He just kind of noticed, maybe not if I was like plateauing, but I wasn't quite maybe getting what he was teaching. So he actually handpicked me for that match at Wrestling Open,
nice.
which was like probably the most generous thing
Yeah,
anybody could do, is to say, hey, like let me really teach you what I've been trying to teach you, and have a match with you. Um, and on top of that, my family was there, not just my parents. Ironically, that was their wedding anniversary, October
wow.
10th. So they showed up on the
Yeah.
wedding anniversary to watch me wrestle. My girlfriend was there, two of my aunts were there, and then one of my uncles who I hadn't seen in probably maybe 3 or 4 years,
Mhm.
showed up by
Nice.
surprise. I saw him in my entrance, and I was like, "Man, what are you doing here?" Like, it
Yeah.
was almost, it was very, very shocking to see him there. And then after the match, just how the match went, and just the fact that all those people showed up for me,
Mhm.
it was very, very sentimental, and I'll never ever forget that day.
Yeah. So when we talk your career, there's not many people on the indies that can say they have their own technically gimmick match after them. So I'm curious for you, whose idea is the Boathouse Brawl matches?
That was my idea.
Nice.
I'm glad I can take 100% credit for that.
Yeah.
Um, some of the weapons and stuff might have been a few other people piping in, like, "Oh, you should use this, you should use that."
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, it was entirely my idea just to kind of have a gimmick match with specific weapons relative to water or the ocean or
Yeah.
fishing equipment.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Is there a Fight Life match that stands out for you?
Mm. Well, obviously there was the first ever Boathouse Brawl was
Yeah.
in the Ocean State with Aaron Rourke.
Yep.
That match sticks out to me. I love Aaron Rourke. He's one of my very good friends in wrestling.
Nice.
And having that match with him definitely made me a lot better. It kind of helped me iron out the kinks for future Boathouse Brawls.
Nice.
Um, the singles match I had with Sammy Diaz, I think that was
Yeah.
that Squared Circle Seance.
Yeah.
That match is one of my favorite matches of my career so far,
Nice.
because Sammy Diaz is amazing, and we had really, really good chemistry. We worked really, really well together. Um, yeah, that's
Yeah.
those are the two that stand out from Fight Life.
So when we talk Seabass Finn and creativity, I'm curious for you, whose idea is behind the Fern for Rad Pro Rasslin?
The Fern wasn't even supposed to exist.
Wow.
It was actually, I think, when I was shortly after I came back from California with Sean. Um, Scott wanted to put me in the kind of faction that Sean was in with Leo Sparrow, these kind of
Yeah.
weird, nasty vegans. Um, so he, kind of tried to find a way. He was like, think of some names or whatever, something plant related. And I was like, "Oh, what about Fern?" And he was like, "Yeah, you're just gonna be the Fern. That's your name."
How'd you think of
um,
it?
I think I knew somebody whose name was Fern, or maybe it
Okay.
was Fern was the name that I knew. I
Yeah.
don't know. But yeah, I was just like, "Oh, what about like Fern and then this as a last name?" And he was like, "No, no, no, your name's just going to be the Fern."
Wow.
So we kind of worked together and came up with the outfit and everything else. But the entirety of the Fern and how you know the character moves and speaks and everything, that was entirely up to me. I decided, "No, this
Nice.
character's not going to speak. He's a human plant. Like,
Yeah.
why should he
Wow.
speak?"
I'm curious. So for
So.
you, what does it mean? Obviously, team with Sean Levine and Keegan, not in Chaotic Wrestling or anywhere, but in Rad Pro Wrestling and winning the Rad Pro Wrestling Tag Team Championships.
That really meant a lot. That was
Yeah.
kind of like a really nice, what felt like a payoff to me and Sean, and all the hard work that we've put in.
Nice.
A really nice quote that I got from Anthony Green was that nothing means anything until it means something in wrestling.
Okay.
So all the hard work you put in, all the hours, all the blood, sweat, and tears and everything, it never really will mean anything to you until it does.
Mhm.
So, winning those titles, and being the first ever Rad Pro tag champs, which just means the world. And I'm glad that I was able to kind of share that with Sean.
Yeah. Is there a favorite Chaotic Wrestling match for you?
Ooh, um, let's see. Mm-mm-mm. Favorite match. I did just have one recently with Mortar
Nice.
at
Yeah.
another. It was in Everett, Night Shift Brewing, another Alamania. I think that was Alamania 5.
Yeah.
We were in the main event for the heavyweight title. Um, what was it, my first shot? Yeah, I think it might have been my second or third
Okay.
kind of heavyweight title opportunity. And Mortar's someone who's kind of been there since day one for me,
Yeah.
or at least week two. Um, and any time that I would wrestle Mortar in, classes and stuff like that, he would just make me so much better.
Nice.
Um, I remember having a class match with him shortly before an Alamania show where I wrestled Sean Legacy. That's another great chaotic wrestling
Yeah.
match. Um, and uh, if I hadn't had that class match with Mortar, I don't think I would have gotten through the match with Legacy.
Wow.
Just Mortar kind of pushed me to wrestle a
Yeah.
style, kind of the more, indie style where there's a lot of fast moving parts, a lot of dips. And it's a little bit longer.
Mhm.
And, to have a main event match with him, was really, really cool.
Nice.
And I can't thank him enough for making me better. Um, I also got to wrestle Dijak again, this
Yeah.
time at the biggest show of the year, Cold Fury. And I won, which again meant a lot to me. And to wrestle somebody like Dijak, who has such a legacy in chaotic wrestling,
Yeah.
was really, really cool. Um, and it was a very different match than what we previously had at Wrestling Open. Um, yeah,
Your match with
those are
Ricky
two.
Smokes
Wow.
was good for the
Yes,
briefcase.
yes, yes, yes. That I knew you were going to bring that up.
Yeah.
That match was probably the best like on a pole gimmick match
Yeah.
that I've ever seen.
Okay.
That
Yeah.
I was a part of it.
Yeah.
Um, my back was in terrible condition after that. He powerbombed me on the apron, and I
Yeah.
was uh, pretty in pretty rough state.
Okay. Yeah.
But that match was really, really cool. I think I busted out the El Generico DDT
Oh
in that match for
yeah.
the first time. I had never done that before, and I was
Wow.
like, yeah, let me try it.
Nice.
And then even after we had a main event match the following show, that went I think like 35 minutes.
Hmm.
That match was really, really good too. I think that was my first kind of taste of the main event.
Nice.
Um, which was little scary, but really, really cool. Um, yes, yeah.
When you look at your career, what would you consider like your first big opportunity?
Ooh, mm, 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 big opportunity. Well, I definitely think the Academy Showcase match, the
Yeah.
first one I was a part of with Bateman, that was definitely a really big
Yeah.
opportunity. Um, just in terms of, who I was wrestling with
Hmm.
and the potential for other people to see that match and catch people's eyes.
Yeah.
The match with Dijak as well was a very big opportunity. Like I said, I really think that match put me on the map.
Yeah.
Um, even a few weeks after that, I wrestled A Game Joseph Alexander
Yep.
in my Limitless Wrestling singles debut. That match was a really big opportunity. Limitless Wrestling is one of the biggest independent wrestling promotions in the Northeast, if not the United States.
Yeah.
And I really think that match turned some heads and got some people to, um, you know, get behind me, and that definitely cemented a small spot for me to keep coming back for Limitless Wrestling.
Nice. So one company I want to ask you about, I think you only wrestled for them once. They only had two shows, but I'm curious how your experience was. Power Pro Lucha. How did that
Yes.
experience come to be?
So I had gone to their, I don't know if it was their first show, maybe it was their second.
Okay.
But I'd gone to one of their first shows because they're a brand new company. They just started
Yeah.
this year. And I just went to kind of show face, and I attended a Hollow Wicked seminar, which
Nice.
was amazing.
Yeah.
Like just now discovering how amazing Hollow Wicked is. And like I try to watch Chikara almost weekly just to try to find new things and whatnot.
Yeah.
Um, and the seminar was amazing. I felt like I kind of stood out amongst the rest of the people in there. And I think a few of the um, promoters and bookers of Power Pro Lucha took notice, and I told them, I'd be interested in coming up for their next show, and they said, yeah, we'd love to have you. And so they were having this Prodigy Cup Gauntlet that I was a part of. That was really, really cool. There was a lot of great talent in there. You had Spike Nishimura, who's
Nice.
a fellow New England Pro Wrestling Academy student.
Yeah.
A guy like Junie Underwood, who's going around everywhere. and then even from Buffalo, young Jay Lee,
Nice.
who's a really really solid talent. Um, and to just be in a very long, I didn't get to mix it up with any of them. Unfortunately, I was in first and out first, but
Ah,
just to be a part of that match and be a part of that show was really really cool.
nice.
And I'd be interested in going back down to Philly in the future. That was my first show that I've been on in Pennsylvania as a whole.
Nice.
And Philly's just a cool city. I'd love to go back.
Yeah, I'm curious when you look at your career, who brings the best out of Seabass, you think?
Hmm. Uh, Definitely all of my trainers do.
Nice.
I've wrestled all of my trainers, at least the ones who are still active, unless you count. I don't think I've wrestled Scotty Slade yet, so
Okay. Did you
might
wrestle
have to check that
Brian?
one off. No, I haven't wrestled Brian either.
Okay.
He's semi-active,
Yeah.
semi-retired. I'm not too sure yet.
Yeah.
I haven't wrestled him yet in anything, and I would love to. Even a singles. I was hoping he was on like a small run in Chaotic doing some singles and
Yeah.
tags. I was hoping I was gonna get my chance, but I
I think
didn't.
he'll be back. I think it'll happen.
I hope so.
Yeah.
But I wrestled Chase in tags. I wrestled Scott a few times in singles and
Yeah.
tags. Wrestled Dijak, of course, and I wrestled Anthony Green.
Nice.
Um, and they all obviously bring out the best in me. I think Milo Mira brings out the best
Yeah.
in me for sure, as well as a guy like Sean. He hits me hard, and I have to hit him harder.
Yeah.
um, Mortar, of course, Ricky. They have great matches with anybody, and a guy like Mortar especially really brings out the best in me.
Nice.
Um, same with Ricky. Um, yeah.
Yeah. I'm curious from you, when you first left for the New Japan Academy to come back, how did Seabass Finn evolve from that?
I think when I was at the New Japan Academy, I was able to really hone in my amateur background.
Okay. Yeah.
That's something that they really, really like there, and they really use as a part of their style. If you watch any young lion match, the first thing they do is kind of just shoot around.
Yeah.
So I was kind of able to really hone in on that and get a little more comfortable doing it.
Hmm.
Um, and Now, I've almost kind of killed off Jac St. I hope he never
Yeah.
comes back in pro wrestling.
Yeah.
Um, Sorry if anyone was looking forward to that, but now I've kind of blended the two styles, and now I'm kind of able to, move myself on a spectrum where, if I need to really lock in and be a bit more serious,
Mhm.
I can present my amateur style. Whereas if I want to have a little more fun, I can kind of dial it back
Yeah.
and do some fishing stuff.
Yeah. Well, I'm curious for you, Seabass, when you look at your career, you've done some great things. Last year was a great year. This year's been a great year. But what are the goals? What does Seabass Finn have to accomplish now?
Mm. Yeah, it's been a little tough to pinpoint that, but
Yeah.
for me, a really big goal is to just continue to branch out and check off more states.
Nice.
I've yet to wrestle in, I think, the province of Ontario, um, in Canada.
Okay.
I've done Quebec so many times.
Yeah.
I feel like, I'd like to venture more out into Canada, maybe get like a Toronto or an Ottawa and check off Ontario. I'd like to venture a little more down south. I've gotten every state in New England and
Nice.
kind of some mid-Atlantic. I've done Pennsylvania, New Jersey, New York, but I'd like to keep going down,
Yeah.
maybe get to, like a North Carolina. I'd like to continue to go out west more. Maybe get to like in Arizona or even in Oregon.
Nice.
Um, in terms of more specific goals, I really like to wrestle for Ring of Honor.
Nice.
It's a very specific goal. I know some
Yeah.
people are like, oh, work for AEW. Is like I no, I specifically want to be in a Ring of Honor ring and have
Yeah.
Bobby Cruz announce my name. Like that would just mean the world to me.
Yeah.
If I could do that. And then probably win some singles gold.
Nice. Yeah.
I
It's
think
gonna
that'd be a
happen.
nice little, check off the box for me. Um, I feel like I have been gaining some momentum, so it's only a matter of time before um, somewhere
Yeah.
in some promotion I finally accomplish that.
Nice. Well, Seabass, I want to thank you for joining me. However, I've been interviewing you the same now. The day you decide it's all done in wrestling, which obviously isn't happening anytime soon, but the day you decide it's all done, What do you want Seabass Finn's legacy in pro wrestling to be?
Hmm. I would like to be regarded as one of the best wrestlers of my time.
Nice.
I know it's a very, very broad, very big goal.
Yeah.
But I'd like to be regarded as one of the best wrestlers of my time. Um, of all times a stretch, but
Yeah.
even more specific, one of the best technical wrestlers.
Nice.
I really think that I bring something unique to the table, and I think that I'm only getting better, and I'm doing my best to kind of study, um, those before me, and
Yeah.
really be the best that I can be.
Nice. Well, Seabass, I want to thank you for doing this, and I want to thank you for everything, man. I remember, like, when I was in high school meeting you at a Fight Life show, getting to call you a friend, getting to commentate matches, convincing my dad to go to Lowell to watch you wrestle. Thank you for everything, man.
Thank you. I'm super glad to be able to make this work.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you, Seabass, for doing this, and thank you, everybody, for watching this episode. This was Best for Business.
Thank you for watching this episode of Best for Business. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Until next time, because this is Best for Business.